record, this is the Newark City School District Board of Education regular meeting being held at the Roosevelt Administrative Offices, October 10, 2016. It is 6:30 p.m. Jeff, call the roll.
Mr. Flowers?
Here.
Mr. Carr?
Here.
Ms. Nickam?
Here.
Mr. Weber?
Here.
Mr. Blind?
Here.
We have a quorum of 5.
Mr. Carter, lead us in the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, under presentations, we have Mark Powder, Dave Rhodes, some others from the city of Newark to discuss the TIF proposal that we've received. I will say before you started, as you know, we just got this Friday, and Jeff forwarded on to our attorney, I think almost immediately Friday. But to my knowledge, we have not heard back yet. So we'll probably postpone the vote until we get their review back and are able to review it.
My name is Mark Motter. I'm the Economic Development Director for the City of Newark, and I just want to make a few prepared statements, if I may. First of all, I'd like to thank the Newark City School Board for allowing us to get on the agenda this evening and have a chance to discuss this TIF, or potential TIF, for the Kroger Marketplace. The President and myself, as well as Dave Rose, Service Director for the City of Newark. Dave has some history when Evans Boulevard was first put in. He was on City Council at that time. So he may have some input if there's some questions there. Brian Moorhead is also with us from the City of Newark as the city engineer, and he's done some preliminary estimates and so forth on the project and could answer any questions on how the project may proceed preliminarily. And also invited Mr. Dan DeWater to join us in this meeting, since they're both friends of the Newark City School Board and also the Newark City Administration. And we simply ask them to share any thoughts that he may have regarding the development of Evans and Baker Boulevard and the adjoining properties, and the vision that he might have for the future of this area and how TIF could possibly impact that development. That being said, again, the city would like to work to implement a TIF on the Kroger Marketplace based on the improvement cost of the $11.8 million being expended in 2016 for this beautiful new facility in our town. The TIF funds would be used to pay for the improvements necessary to connect Baker and Evans Boulevard and the bridge required to span over the Log Pond Road diversion ditch. The city must implement the TIF before the end of 2016 in order to be able to capitalize on these improvement costs. After December 31st, 2016, the ability to capture these TIF funds would be lost, and with that, the city's ability to generate funding to do this much needed project. The project has been preliminarily estimated by Brian Moorhead to cost in the range of about $3 to $3.5 million. That's based on, we don't have any definite plans yet, but that's a best estimate with his experience. The city met with the Newark City School Board members on July 27th, 2016 to discuss the TIF. And the Newark City School Board members at that time requested several TIF scenarios with shorter terms than 30-year be presented for their review. So per their request, I had 10, 15, and 20-year TIF scenarios created, and each were done with 2 options. One option would offer 25% compensation to the school districts. This generates fewer dollars available to the city, but does share funding with the school districts. The other is with no compensation to the school districts. The TIF information was sent to the Newark City School and CTEC treasurers on August the 19th. After careful deliberation by city administration regarding project cost, land utilization, benefits to Newark City schools, North 21st Street businesses, and Newark residents, and comments from the Newark City School Board members on the July 27th meeting, the city has decided to select from the list of options presented a 20-year, 100% TIF with a 25% millage compensation to the school districts, and that may be presented to the board for their approval. This TIF would generate approximately $2.6 to $2.7 million of the $3 million needed for the Evans and Baker connection completions. The TIF option would also compensate each school district, New York City Schools and CTEC, with a portion of the TIF funds. The city feels that this would be an equitable TIF that provides a reasonable amount, but not all of the funding it would need for the project. The city would still have to pursue grants and other funding to pay for the project in full. Another benefit is that it does not extend the TIF out 30 years, which was a concern voiced by the members of the board at the July 27th meeting. It does provide a portion of compensation back to the schools, so Newark would be a sharing partner in the TIF with the school districts. The TIF does not create any new burden on the school districts in the form of additional residential development and student population. It also provides a benefit to the schools for transportation to and from the schools. In addition, it provides a benefit to the citizens of Newark for easier and safer access to North 21st Street from the West Side residents who could have the opportunity to eliminate the use of residential streets, which if you come down Sharon Valley Road heading west toward 21st, you all have to go down Hamilton Avenue, you have Mile Street to get to 21st Street intersection. And those streets really weren't designed for that amount of traffic. And finally, this would promote economic development, further economic development in the North 21st Street corridor. Final closing statements would be that due to the requirements to get the school board, New York City and CTEC, and city council approvals, that is resolutions passed, we would need to have a school board decision in the very near future. Again, we would need to create this TIF before the end of the year. We have to have your resolutions, council resolutions. It then gets presented to Mike Smith's office, county auditor, who then relays the TIF information on to the state of Ohio. So those are my comments.
I think you're looking to vote on November 7th, correct?
I'm sorry?
I think you're looking for council to vote on November 7th.
We're going to present it to city council, yes, on the November 7th city council meeting. Yes.
So I don't see any problem with us having to vote by then. Would you prefer everybody present, or do you go ahead and ask questions?
I think at this point, we will entertain questions from the board members and try to answer as best we can.
I'll ask one. What a surprise. Okay, Marty, as you know, I'm an accountant, so you know where I'm headed with my question. You know, typically with a TIF, the TIF happens in order to help fund the development that's gonna generate jobs or whatever. You know, in this case, the Kroger Marketplace is happening, so it's not like our participation is gonna make Kroger happy. The Baker Evans extensions would go through strictly property that's owned by the Evans Foundation, which probably is not going to be developed beyond some athletic facilities, that sort of thing. No jobs, no. Where is our return on our investment there for the school district?
Well, like I said, there's a number of things. We provide additional transportation access for students to get to and from the school. It's going to certainly provide a benefit to Kroger because it's going to be bringing people, especially from the west end, directly to their, one of their access. They have two entrance points, one off of 21st Street, one off of Baker. You know, when we met with Jeff Anderson and Dave Alpeter and Jason Keys about a year or so ago, and kind of proposed the big picture of two TIFs actually, Kroger Marketplace TIF. At that time, we were also looking at a potential TIF for the Thornwood Drive corridor as a potential TIF as well. And we had some pretty positive feedback at that time. That seemed like that might be a good addition, you know, to again service the legend of Liberty Elementary Schools, in addition to the Kroger Marketplace and all the other businesses on the North 21st Street corridor. So it seems like there's a community-wide benefit to this project.
I think at the time, we thought the city was gonna pay for the entire road now. There's a big difference
Again, it was a big picture presentation back when we were.
Other questions?
Well, I have some concerns, specific, about the money, in part, but more about safety. I have safety concerns about, making that connection. Students are at our school facilities between the two school buildings and the athletic complex from 7 in the morning till 9 at night. I have concerns about speed limit, what safety considerations are gonna be in. I mean, what have you addressed so far safety-wise?
That might be a good question for Brian to answer, since it's kind of design. Again, we don't have any firm designs at this point. Brian, would you like to comment on that?
Yeah, as Mark said, we don't have there's no design at this point. I mean, we kind of know we want to get from point A to point B and connect down to point C, which is the end of Evans Boulevard. So those are all things that can be taken into account. I mean, one of the things that I think that we would need to do, there's a new crossing that's being made on Evans where the pedestrian bridge is going in over the Log Pond Run diversion channel now. At that point, if Evans is connected to Baker, a lot more traffic, we would need to have a more robust type of signal system there to allow that pedestrian crossing to be made. Speed limits down through there, I think 35 miles an hour is plenty fast for anything on local streets, and that's the way that would continue. Of course, you would have school zones set up as you do at any other schools throughout the city. So all those things can be taken into account, but again, nothing is designed at this point right now.
Okay, I wouldn't want, us speed limit higher than 25, hoping that people won't go more than 35. I think you open it up to 35, you're asking them to go 45. And like I said, we have students at those facilities as late as 9 o'clock at night. So it's not just during those school zone times, that they're there. Okay, thank you. But back to the money, we're talking about an amount of money that the school district could hire 2 additional teachers. That would pay for 2 teachers for 20 years, their salaries. That's an amount that could build us a new preschool facility, which is a need that we're gonna be looking at in the next several years. I have concerns about diverting the school district's money to a street project, especially a street that, as Tom was saying, it's kind of hard to see the direct benefit to the school district. And when you talk about it wouldn't be developed, actually, if there was gonna be development there, that would help us. We could say, oh, there's gonna be some more housing there, so we're gonna have property taxes and income taxes, but those trade-offs don't seem to be coming from this project. Can you speak to that? Why we should divert from these educational purposes to a city street?
Baker, any comments on that?
Back in 2004, when Mayor Bain was the mayor, we worked with the school boards at that point, and the city said, gosh, why should we bond a road? I think it was $550,000. Why should we bond a road for the schools? Well, at that time, between Mayor Bain, the city council, and the school board, we agreed to go ahead, the city did, to build the road with the hopes someday to extend it. And we've looked and we've looked and we've looked for a cash flow model to be able to support the extension of that roadway. If we're able to use these dollars to build that roadway, yes, we would take safety into consideration. Yes, we would have to work with the school board, and I would probably ask that one of the members be involved in the design of the road if we get that far. That way we keep an open line of communication back and forth. We're also going to have to work intimately with NASA, the Soccer Association, which we've had conversations with. But asking about what the benefit is to the school board, kind of circling back that area is generally going to be used for educational purposes, some way or another. There is your benefit. There is your benefit.
I'm not getting another observation, Jim. Thanks for the opportunity to make a offer a word or two. My perspective is one as both a taxpayer and a business person in the Newark and Licking County community, and also serving as chairman of our economic development group, Newark Development Partners, our community improvement corporation, which was chartered about 3.5, almost 4 years ago now to foster economic development in the city of Newark. So I have that perspective. And then finally, I've been authorized to share with you Sarah Wallace's perspective as well on this proposal. So first of all, just in the economic development arena, I don't have yet a full appreciation for all that we're going to see in terms of new traffic in Newark, Ohio. I think it's going to be remarkable, in fact, because of the facility. I've been inside the facility on 2 different occasions. I've gotten to know the store manager. I understand what they're bringing to Newark, Ohio, and it's a pretty incredible facility. Really, really anxious to get that open. I'm also a person who travels 21st Street like you all do, and I know how crazy busy that place is from time to time, and know full well what this additional traffic improvement will mean in terms of convenience for ingress egress to that area. And that doesn't address what Kroger will draw to this community for other retail merchants, which is an intangible. We can't quantify that. I don't know how much it is. But I would offer the additional tax revenue we can't quantify today, but it's on a relatively high level of confidence that it's going to happen. Don't know how much, but it'd be a bit speculative to predict that. But it's going to be something more than what we have today. I feel reasonably comfortable with that as a business person. So I think about economic development. What can we do? Planning is critical. You know, I'm so happy and pleased Kroger Company did their study to invest the kind of money they've invested in Newark, Ohio. It tells us all a great deal about the potential for drawing new customers in. They wouldn't do that simply to transfer the customer from Deer Drive over to the former Myers location. They do it because what they'll bring to us will be a lot more traffic than what we have today. We need a different traffic pattern. It's just critical we have that. I talked to Sarah today at some length again about this, and she reminded me of when her father bought the 300 acres over there. That's through the Evans Foundation. And I can't speak on behalf of the Evans Foundation. I can only share with you conversations I've had with Sarah Wallace, and you know she represents the Evans Foundation. And she is 100% supportive of this. She thinks it's a great thing to do. They will engage additional planning steps for the remaining acreage that they own to figure out how to best utilize that for the benefit of the entire community. So I rather imagine that we're going to see additional improvements in that area. They'll bring more jobs in the Evans Foundation property. Who knows? I don't think that's the plan today, and you don't want to bank on that today. But the mere fact that we're going to have a much improved traffic pattern, ingress, egress, in addition to what we already have at 21st Street, is a huge economic benefit to us all. I know how tempting it is to think about having another $2.6 million to spend over the next 20 years. I get that. But as a community citizen, business person, what I think the city is doing is offering a pretty good proposal, really a very good collaborative proposal to ask you to share in the benefit of this without trying to scrape off every nickel from the new taxes that will come from all this. So the 25% piece, I think, is a great gesture on part of the city to try to help recognize some of the, Jeff, you've got balanced budget, I understand that, your board has to do that, I get all that. I know how that works. And you're going to get some extra money out of this, just it won't be as much as what you might have had otherwise by looking strictly at this one single element. In terms of, though, improving our environment, yes. Will it bring more jobs? I'm confident that it will. Will we be a happier group of people because we have different ingress, egress to that area? That's going to be the primary shopping spot for the near future we can see. I'd say yes. Absolutely, it's supported by the Newark Development Partners. Absolutely, the Park National Bank, where I represent, supports this concept as well. I give the city an awful lot of credit for being creative and managing to try to find a way to do this in such a way that everybody's going to pay for this. The city starts to call up some money. They got to come up with other sources of funding for this as well. So it hasn't been all concluded yet how this is going to be done. But so the city's got to take money out of their pocket or out of their bonding capacity, general fund capacity. Otherwise, pretty creative group of people we have. We're very fortunate to have the kind of administration we have, and the team you see here representing that administration, and the city council we have, working so closely together with the entire community of Newark, Ohio, to do what's best for Newark. So my perspective is, as a citizen, as the other constituencies I represent, strongly encourage you to vote in favor of this.
So your vision is that this street is key to the economic growth of the North End?
I think it is, but in my humble opinion, because we all travel 21st Street now. I frankly tend to avoid it these days. But my wife won't avoid shopping, and she'll use it. And I sometimes will tag along with that. I'm really excited about this new proposition with Baker House. I think it's a great solution to get people in now there without having to go down the corridors that Mark has identified. We'll draw people in from other areas of Lincoln County. It will happen. And they'll come from the west into Newark to do shopping. And they'll come from the north, and they'll come from the east, and we will have an influx of traffic in Newark, Ohio. I think we need to find out where we can to minimize the pain for our existing residents who travel those highways as well. This is a great step forward to do that.
I guess my follow-up question to the city on that would be if this growth that the DM's envisioning happens, is that proposed roundabout going to be sufficient to handle that traffic, the one at Sharon Valley and?
Yes, it is. Yeah, we're designing it right now, and it's being designed with the connection in mind.
Would ask as you design that, keep in mind that there will still be kids walking Sharon Valley to Evans Field, to the Little League Field, so there's going to have to be some provision there for pedestrian traffic at the roundabout.
School buses. I have some personal experience on roundabouts in different places, and boy, there is the slickest thing I've ever seen. Downtown Newark is a great example of that. All the naysayers, I think, have now understood that you can do this thing and you can do it safely. And I am really excited about getting roundabouts in this area. It's going to greatly expedite flow of traffic, and it's safe and much better for everybody involved. Huge supporter of roundabouts.
Used to travel Sharon Valley, I'd like to see one at Sharon Valley Country Club.
That's on our radar.
So do I, Mr. Blind.
What would be a timeline, if the board approved, what would be your timeline for completing the road?
The first thing to be done would be a complete study in partnership with the Evans Foundation on the utilization plan. And that's where I think a school board member being part of that could be very helpful to this whole process. So that would be the first step. And once we come up with a design for the total area and work out the safety issues and work out the safety issues with Massa Soccer, then at that point, we would move to design and then bid. And the city's willing to bond this, the city's willing to put some dollars in from our capital improvement projects, and the city's willing to go out and look for some additional grant dollars to help with these improvements. So, again, to answer your question, it won't happen overnight, but if we get the go-ahead from the school board and we get the TIF in place, we'll begin the planning process, and that's where we would like to have a member of the school board involved with the planning process to address the concerns that I hear in terms of safety and benefits. And one additional benefit that will come out of this roadway, it will be response time for EMS as our current fire stations exist. We will be able to get to that area quicker from our Hollander station. And that is a real advantage, because the response times currently in our current stations would be, depending on what it costs, could be anywhere from 8 minutes to 12 minutes. So that time should come down. And then we're looking at additional options to help with that too, but as our current station structures are, it would help our response time.
I would just add that David's comments, that Sarah reminded me as well that she is a huge supporter of planning. So it's critically important that this be a study in great detail and in depth, so that the conclusion of this is something everybody buys into. It's very, very important, critical, as she said, that's the word she used.
One other
means of funding this project that you're checking into?
There are, Ohio Public Works Commission has a grant and loan program for improving infrastructure. We can apply for that. That is something we've been very successful over the last 30 years, actually. So that was probably my first option for, we've kind of targeted that whole Sharon Valley Road corridor with OPWC funding in the coming years. So the roundabout is partially funded with those funds. And as we said, the possible roundabout further on down the line to Sharon Valley and Country Club. And then the rest of improvements down that corridor are kind of in my crosshairs of using the OPWC funding.
Is the school district's limited liability the TIF, I mean, what if there are cost overruns? Who shoulders that?
The city would shoulder that. So the TIF, once it's established, it's a certain dollar figure, it's a certain dollar figure to the school board. And so the cost overruns will be burdened by the city.
On the back of that, if I can, if we say, okay, we're gonna do this, and then some things happen where that road gets off the drawing board because there's just not the resources for it, what happens at that point?
I don't believe we'll find ourselves in that's a very good question, number one.
I hear what you're saying, I mean,
I
don't
don't-
expect
I don't-
that, but
I don't look for that to happen. I don't. But if it does, I think that if we have a school board member with us on the planning of that, then at that point, we would have to enter into discussions on how to revert those funds back to the school board. I don't know. I don't know the steps that you would go down to an area to answer your question.
I understand.
Yeah, my understanding from the attorney that we're using to generate this TIF for us and all the paperwork that you have on your desk now, his response to that type of question would be, well, there's something you're going to be able to do with those streets. Maybe it's getting Baker extended down to the diversion ditch, maybe extended down to the diversion ditch, maybe just, so you spend those funds and then maybe the last piece of the puzzle is to figure out the bridge. So there's always ways to spend money. That's typically not a problem. And again, one of the reasons we selected this particular TIF is it got us about 2/3 of the way to our cost. It gives a little higher level of confidence that we could complete the project. In addition to getting some of the other grant funding and possibly some of the other capital improvement budgets dollars from the city.
I was wondering, there's a certain amount that you can get without even talking to us, correct?
We can go 75% distribution over 10 years without school board approval.
Okay.
That only generated about 1.6 million, Tim. Without a school board compensation, I believe about 1.1 million with school board compensation at a 25% compensation level. So that was only about 1/3 of what we would need for funding, 1/3 or less of what we would.
That was kind of my question, is what's the difference between what you can do and what we are?
That's all Ohio Revised Code is where that's governed and what we have to adhere to.
I think two things. One, Brian, the OPWC, is that your District 17 Integrating Committee?
Yes,
When was the last time you all got a grant from them?
we've gotten a grant every year for the last, I've been here 27 years, and we've gotten a grant every year, and there's been a couple of occasions where they've had 2 funding rounds in a year. We've gotten grants on those, so City of Newark has gotten a grant every year at least for the last 27 years. I just applied for one last week. So,
The other thing is, what would be our role if we were advisors in planning or?
That'd be a good question.
Yeah.
When we engage in planning professional group, we will do that with the Evans Foundation. The role would be at the table and offer comments, suggestions, hear what we're talking about, see if you like what we're
everybody would have something in the game. And you have concerns, we have concerns. We would ask the people from Nassau Soccer to come and sit down and let's look at that too, because there's a big impact up there, and Keith's willing to do so. So we would hope to put a lot of us in the room to talk about that. So role, getting back to the role, making suggestions, having input on the project as a whole as it affects the school and the entire area. And we look forward to that input.
I don't talk much in sound bites, but something I learned a while back that I really appreciate these days is if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. The more people you have working as a team, the further you're going to go. So it just makes perfect sense. Evans Foundation really wants to be a part of this. Obviously, the city, the private sector, and the school board working together to get an awful lot accomplished.
I'm just a dumb country boy, but I happen to live over there. My house backs up to the field you're planning on dicing and second and everything. I just look at it on a map, it looks like to me, if you're trying to alleviate and create an access to 21st Street, that you would take Baker straight out to King. That's a whole lot less turns. Whole lot less turns, because you just come up King and come down Baker and you're on 21st Street. I don't know why you would come up Sharon Valley, up Evans, and then down Baker. That doesn't make sense to me. And I know, I've heard people say, well, it's the township. They're a government agency just like we are. Why aren't we talking to them too?
It's a fair question, and we have begun conversations with the township. You mentioned 10 years, 75% that can be enacted without us. If that were to be the case, is the road still going to happen?
Dollars and cents wise, I'm sure it'd be much more difficult to put that project together funding wise, if you could rewrite it.
Yeah, I don't have any other funding source that can provide that kind of money at this point.
What kind of money have you talked about with the Ohio Public Works grants do you typically see?
About $500,000 a year.
Any other comments gentlemen would like to make?
Thank you.
One comment to Jeff's comment there about King Road. King Road would be very, even if it weren't in the township, even if it were all in the city, all totally under the city control, it'd be very hard, very expensive to widen King Road and put in the appropriate safety features and so forth. The construction cost of that would be astronomical because a lot of the road is hanging on the side of the hill. And to be able to upgrade that road compared to the length of road that we have developed with Evans Boulevard that is made for with turn lanes and wide width and all would be very expensive. So Evans is definitely the easier model. And going back to, as Dave mentioned too, I was involved with the original development of Evans Boulevard, and that could have just as easily been a 2-lane driveway back to 2 schools. And everybody had got their heads together at that point, and Keith Richards was the superintendent, and we sat down with Keith and Dave Altpeter, and the thought was then that this thing needs to be extended and to be able to handle the traffic that's going to be generated by those schools. And when we designed it in mind to make that connection, to connect to Baker, and actually we were thinking then it could possibly go all the way to the north to Goose Pond Road and connect. That could happen in the future, but I think the short-term, most important connection is Baker to Evans. And as you see, we're already working on the roundabout at Evans and Sharon Valley.
Tom, one other question. You're a numbers guy, so I crunched the numbers myself a little bit. Really didn't crunch them. I just went on the county website and I looked at the property. There's actually 3 parcels that constitute the buyer entity. And of course, Kroger bought all 3 of those parcels. And as I looked at I got a copy of the tax bill right here for those properties, and that was generating to the first half, which was due February 17 of this year, 2016. And the annual tax distribution based on what Kroger purchased the property for, which was $3 million according to Mike Smith, County Auditor's website, generated to the school system for Newark $32,401.09. And with our compensation package of 25%, Newark City School Systems would realize $39,127.26. So this compensation package that we're presenting tonight would actually generate more dollars than what I'm calling cost basis, because when Kroger purchased the property from Meyer, that established the cost basis for what the property taxes could be collected. And now what Kroger's doing is they're going from that $3 million acquisition cost, and they're spending another $11.8 million in construction costs and site improvement costs. And that's what this TIF is figured upon. And I did this one verification. I went down to the building code department, and they did pull permits for construction of $10 million. And typically, the building permits are a little shy for the total cost of the projects that they're doing. So there's $10 million there. There's another $200,000 of fire suppression permits pulled. What I didn't have time to do is there would have certainly been a plumbing permit pulled for that project as well. So those building permits, again, are the improvement costs. That kind of justifies that 11.8. So the $3 million land acquisition cost is not in that 11.8 million. So I just thought that was an interesting figure to share with all of you. And you can do the numbers the same as I have. That this compensation actually is going to generate another $39,000 in addition to what if Myers had still been there, and they were being taxed. Actually, they're being taxed on $2.5 million. So just I think when you look at your numbers, take a look at that as well.
Okay, gentlemen, thank you. As I said, we're still waiting to hear back from our legal review. And once we get that, and then once we all had a chance to take a look at that, digest it, we are aware of wanting to go to council on November 7th, so hopefully we'll be able to have our vote in the next week to 2 weeks, to give you plenty of time, whatever our vote is, so that you know what's going on from our end before you go to council. So.
Tom, is it fair that you'll notify us of your vote, when you're gonna make your vote? So
Oh,
we'll
yeah,
get back
it'll
and
be,
answer
it'll
questions?
have to be a public session, so it'll be broadcast, or it'll be advertised, and we'll make sure to let you know.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to communications from the floor. If anyone would like to address the board, please step to the podium, give your name, your address, and we'll have 5 minutes to speak. Okay, being none, we will move on to treasurer's recommendations, Jeff.
Item 2A is approval of minutes of Board of Education meeting for September 12th, 2016 regular meeting. Item 2B is approval of September 2016 financial statements of payment to vendors. We had interest of $13,275.58, and our fund balances, our general fund $29,420,000, bond retirement $3,900,000, permanent improvement $1,880,000, building fund $160,000, food service $1,340,000, insurance funds $3,310,000, classroom facilities $2,630,000, miscellaneous other $420,000 for a total of $43 million. Right now, next page is the bank statement. $43,064,305 and 33 cents in the bank. The next sheet that's in your packet from me is the SM2, which is our income statement. Shows you how much we had coming in each month, and how much going out, and how much year-to-date on income, and how much year-to-date going out. Then the next part of it is item 2C, approval of 2017 supplemental appropriations resolution. Had 2 items on it. One was for public support 018, increase of $3,000, where they sold NHS Spiritware. And item 300, district managed student activity, was the NHS orchestra needed to buy $75 worth of supplies. And I'm going to ask you to vote on item A, B, and C, so we take a separate vote on item D.
Got a motion? So moved. Second? Comments, questions? I do want to mention, Jeff, the zero balance in the OSFC project, local and state share,
Right.
that indicates the building project is officially,
It is closed and completed.
it's done.
Yeah, completely done, state satisfied, everybody's been paid off and taken care of.
That votes that.
Yes, very happy.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, call the roll, please, Jeff.
Mr. Blowers?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Mr. Carr?
Yes.
Ms. Nickam?
Yes.
Mr. Blind?
Yes.
Item 2D is approved, thank you. Item 2D is approval of resolution in support of the invoicing of ECOT for deductions from state funding. It is recommended the board approve the resolution in support of the Ohio Department of Education in the invoicing of ECOT for deductions from state funding. From the year 2002 to present, Newark City Schools has sent, or through the Department of Education, has sent about $5.2 million to ECOT for education of students that enrolled there from Newark. And based on the formulas that everybody's using, we would bill ECOT for at least 80% because they can only validate 20% of their attendance. So 80% has been overfunded to ECOT from the 2002 to present by Newark City Schools. So what you're voting on here is to authorize me to send ECOT and the Department of Education a bill for basically $4.2 million to return money to Newark City Schools because ECOT hasn't been doing their job in educating our students.
We have a motion.
So moved. Second.
Comments?
A lot of schools across the state is doing this, and I felt like that if there ever was a settlement, Newark City Schools wants to be in line with everybody else to get their share, whatever that may be. I don't care if it's $1 a student for a year, okay? So,
My personal thought is, if it comes to that point, they'll probably declare bankruptcy and walk away. But
could be, but we got to keep sending the message to our state legislatures that those schools are not doing their job as good as Mr. Youth and his staff is.
got to send the message, and then you never know where this thing may lead.
Right,
So
or where they'll end up at.
We might as well get some.
Yeah.
No other questions, we'll call the roll.
Mr. Blowers?
Yes.
Mr. Carr?
Yes.
Ms. Nickam?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Mr. Blind?
Yes.
Thank you.
Item 3, superintendent's recommendation.
Okay, and under personnel, we have 3 retirements, one in the certified and 2 in classified. We have Susan Davis, who's second grade teacher at Hillview, who's retiring in June, which is our first notification this year. Susan began teaching here in 1994. We appreciate her efforts, along with Karen Ivers in food service and Rose Rogers bus driver. So we do appreciate their service to the district. We have 2 classified leave of absence to approve. Appointments and assignments, none under certified. We have a list of classified attached. Supplemental contracts are also on the agenda, mainly for winter assistant coaches. Also recommend supplemental contracts of Kara Noyes and Cheryl Ortonby for the STEP program. And that's basically go out in the summertime and go into a business and spend a couple weeks or a week or 2 weeks. And it's a great program. We appreciate Nelson McCrae's leadership of that program at ESC. A few substitutes to hire, we continue adding to that list, and we still need more. But even every board meeting, we seem to have some on the list. And 8, approval of public notice. Public notice only. The advertising of public notice for Deb Hill, who is currently employed in New York City District as payroll clerk, will be retired and seeking reemployment with the New York City School District in the same position following her service retirement. Items 1 through 8.
Got a motion?
I'm ready.
Second.
I'll second.
Comments or questions? We want to vote on all these separate.
Pardon? She can't hear you.
I heard you, that's not
She
very
did.
nice, gentlemen.
Yeah, we can do that.
Just being smart aleck.
You'd still get your 5 votes.
Thanks.
No questions or comments? Okay, call the roll, please, Joe.
Mr. Weber,
Yes.
Mr. Carr,
Yes.
Mr. Flowers,
Yes.
Ms. Nickam,
Yes.
Mr. Blind.
Yes.
Thank you.
Item B, special ed contracts. Other, 5 other districts, also speech and language hearing contract with Ohio State University for services. Item C is gifts. We have a monetary gift of $500 from the Angels of '89, and continue to thank this group. I know I saw them at a football game. They got some money for me for a raffle ticket, but I didn't win. So, but it goes to a good cause, and we appreciate their efforts. Those will be going to mainly the high school, but we're really putting effort out for hygiene products for our students. So mainly at the middle and high school. So a lot of people working hard to help our students out. Monetary gift from Carla Shockley McCarthy of $850 for after-school adventures for the middle schools, and it's for the implementation of Orange Couch curriculum. And so we always appreciate the gifts that we get from our communities. A, B, and C.
Have a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Second?
Questions or comments? Okay, Jeff, call the roll.
Ms. Nickam,
Yes.
Mr. Flowers.
Yes.
Mr. Carr,
Yes.
Mr. Weber,
Yes.
Mr. Blind.
Yes.
Thank you.
Now comes the dreaded adoption of board policies. It is recommended the Board of Education announce its intent to adopt the following policies as shown in the appendix. An announcement be made that these policies will be available to the board, staff, and public for inspection in the office of the superintendent of schools from October 11, 2016 through November 21st, 2016. And Personnel Committee, file 1130, conflict of interest. That is strictly an intent, does not require a vote at this point. Under B, adoption of board policies, it is recommended the Board of Education adopt policies listed below as shown in the appendix and as announced at the September 12, 2016 meeting of the Board of Education. From the Personnel Committee, file 3113, conflict of interest, professional staff, file 4113, conflict of interest, classified staff. From the Finance Committee, file 6110, federal funds, file 6111, internal controls, file 6112, cash management of grants, file 6114, cost principles, spending of federal funds, file 6116, time and effort reporting, file 6325, procurement, federal grants and funds, file 7310, disposition of surplus property. So that being said, we would accept a motion to adopt the above policies.
I'll second.
Any comments or discussion? Call the roll, please, Jeff.
Mr. Flowers,
Yes.
Mr. Weber,
Yes.
Mr. Carr,
Yes.
Ms. Nickam,
Yes.
Mr. Blind.
Yes.
Thank you.
Do we have a legislative liaison?
No.
Board discussion, policy 4162, drug and alcohol testing, CDL license holders. Mike, I think we've been doing some these.
Okay, a little update. We voted, okay, this has to do with our board policy 4162, drug and alcohol testing. CDL license holders, this policy revision is the result in a change by the U.S. Department of Transportation to the regulation regarding performance of safety-sensitive functions, and the alcohol concentration threshold of 0.02 had been revised to 0.04. And at the last meeting, we
We were still waiting to hear back from Sarah Clark, Director of Legal Services from the OSBA. And so with what information we had, we acted, believing that we couldn't change anything, but we voted it down, that we did not believe that was a safe way to go. And then a few days later, Sarah Clark got in touch with me, and according to their office, we as a local school board in the state of Ohio, we can make any federal, not mandate, directive more strict. We just can't make it more lax. So we are within our bounds. We're fine. We can leave it the way we want it or the way it is. If we want to make it stricter, we can do that. And that's open for discussion.
So, having voted down the change, our policy still stands at
Yes.
.04.
Yes.
Or 02.
Yeah.
Thank you. So in essence, if we want to leave it alone, we don't need to do anything.
Correct. Leave it? Discussion forward.
Unless somebody wants to move on, Mary, I think that.
Okay, all right. Okay.
Okay, we'll continue on with board discussion. We'll start at the end of the table, Warren.
Sure? Congratulations to the Pride of Newark qualified, and for the state, I don't even know how many years in a row now.
37.
37, wow. And I believe that's a record for the state. I'm not sure if we are tied with any other school. I
One
think
other.
there's one other school.
One other school we're tied with, I believe.
Okay.
Unless they haven't qualified this year.
Okay, all right. So anyway, congratulations to the Pride of Newark. And I'm not a coach, but I'll tell you what, hats off to the boys Friday night. My wife and I went out for pizza Saturday night, and this young man came up to wait on the table, and he was wearing a Wildcat shirt on, jersey, and my wife said, "Do you play football for the Wildcats?" He said, "Yes, ma'am." I was impressed. And he said, we just didn't have a very good show. And I said, "Now, wait a minute." I said, when you guys when you guys got behind, you could have just given up, and you did. And I'm so impressed, and I'll let you know that. I enjoy watching these boys play. They really play their heart. So congratulations to the football team, and I think that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Well, especially thanks for the gifts to Angels of '89 and Ms. McCarthy. The after-school programs, the generosity of this town continues to amaze me. And we're put in a little predicament earlier today to try to be generous and good neighbors. And that's a challenging thought process for the five folks sitting up here, because we're concerned for the safety of kids, the education of kids, and we're not really folks who build roads. And so we're put a little bit between a rock and a hard place there as far as being a good neighbor, at the same time making sure that the priorities of the kids are taken care of, and that our students, our teachers, and our administrators are provided for in the best way. So much thought to go in on those things. Enjoyed the middle school bands performing with the high school band. Big sound on Friday night. That was really cool. And first Citizen of the Month luncheon coming up, which is a great deal for a number of young people who have already early on in the school year made themselves great leaders for New York City schools. And I'm thrilled to be a part of the board and a part of the town and see all that's going on. And, that's all.
time to be a cat. I'm very happy to be here.
Yeah, I'd like to congratulate one of our administrators, Nick Myers, who's the principal at Hillview, was named to the top 20 under 40 deal here, which we have some graduates of that deal out in the crowd, I think, out there. But Nick has gotten off to a wonderful start at Hillview, and he's got tremendous staff and students and parents out there, and so we're excited for Nick and appreciate what he's doing and congratulate him on that. The support, I want to thank our community and our kids, the support that we're receiving after 2:30 and 3 o'clock is amazing. After week 3 in football, I believe our gate receipts were over what we've been getting in 5 games in the past. And that's impressive, and that's neat to see, as Tim said. There's a few more than 400 up there after the 600 cheerleaders or whatever down there. But a couple Sundays ago, some of us were at a golf outing for the athletic department, and I think maybe about 2 groups on every hole, it seemed like, which means there's about 36 groups out there playing. And even though the board has suspended those transportation fees, those groups have remained, the band boosters, the athletic boosters, so on, remained very active out there, and that's what we wanted to see. And congratulations to the band, and I just think they've done a wonderful job under Lee's direction, so we appreciate that. The support we've received at soccer and volleyball is wonderful, and the neat thing for me to see is that our student sections have been wonderful. We have taken 2 bus loads of students to away games. We didn't at Big Walnut the other time, that was raining and bad weather, but our kids are supporting each other, and that's what it's all about. So it's nice to see. Got a lot of compliments on Whitefield, and my response is always, it's going to get better. And it's getting better because we'll be bringing the board some information here at the end of October on the final phase of the project. And hopefully in November, we're opening bids at Thanksgiving time, and work will begin. I continue to get, a couple times a week, I get updates from the artists out in Utah who's doing the statue for the East End. And boy, that's really, I'm really getting excited about it, because it's going to be wonderful. So Whitefield, more to come on that here in the coming board meetings. Again, with our staff and students, very friendly atmosphere in our buildings, and that's what we're really striving for. It's a great time to be a cat. It's a magical time to be a cat too, as we talk about our Disney initiative here, and I know our folks out here are working very hard with that. But as we walk around schools, and that's one of the things that I ask the directors to do, is get out in the buildings. That's how we know what's going on. Get out in the buildings, and the reports we're getting back and from walking around. One of the things that impresses me is our students look you in the eye and talk to you, and excited to see you, and that's important. And I appreciate the staff and students from here. We got a great compliment the other day from a parent. We're working hard on our transition programs, and this parent has a child in the 6th grade at Liberty Middle School, and just raved about how that transition program made their child feel comfortable, but it also made mom feel really comfortable on that first day. And so I want to compliment our students and our staff, and thank the board for their support of those transition programs. We make our kids feel more comfortable. So it's a great time to be a cat.
As Bev said, I think all my thunder's been stolen, but I'll just say ditto, ditto, ditto. Also like to thank the gentleman from the city. This is a tough decision. There's pros and cons both ways. But we'll be discussing it over the next couple of weeks and come to the best decision that we can make. Also, as everyone knows, the state report cards were released a few weeks ago. Originally, state report cards were conceived so that parents and folks could see how their school was doing compared to others. We've now progressed to the point that every school board member in the state gets a 30-page glossy book on Guide to School, Ohio school report cards. Now, it seems to me that if anybody's in tune to being able to read a state report card, it should be a school board member. And if we need 30 glossy pages in order to understand it, I'm not sure what the average citizen and parent is going to make of this. So if anybody would like to borrow my 30-page glossy booklet, it is available because, to be honest, I'm putting so much faith in the state report cards these days that I opened it up to find out how many pages it was. So that's just my short editorial comment there. Short
Should we echo that? We echoed a lot there.
We say those look pretty new, if somebody would like to see.
Yeah, it's pretty nice. There's no bends, no nothing there. And if you find anything you understand, I guess my question is, I wonder what these things cost. Well, that's neither here nor there. Do we have any reason for executive session?
We want to go over goals.
Okay, being none, I accept the motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Nickum, Flowers, a second. Nickum,
Yes.
Flowers,
Yes.
Carr, Weber, Lund.
Yes.
We're not Mr. and Mrs.
Not going out the door, you're not, I'm just gonna catch you before you. I was afraid you'd be there before I got your name out.